behind me. Don't obstruct my path. You have no right. Right? Why? He knew who he was. When the demoniac, when he went to, I think it was the Gergesene area, the spirits knew who he was. They said, have you come to torment us before the time? They know who we are. Sometimes we don't know who we are. And therefore, it gets in the way. It causes us, it causes us harm because we're fighting these battles and we're fighting this enemy, and this enemy only has one way of beating us. And thus that's us giving up, forgetting who we are, forgetting what belongs to us, forgetting the Word of God. That's the only thing he has going for us. In fact, for himself. In fact, go with me over to Colossians. So listen to what it says here, chapter 2 of Colossians. Verse 9, for in him, we learned what that was, right? In Jesus, dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. In you, the Colossian church, those listening today who belong to Jesus, you are complete in him, who is the head of all principalities and powers. So we are complete in him. What does that mean? It means that everything that we need is already complete. A little baby, right, is complete. It has all of the organs and all of the things necessary with care and feeding, can grow into an adult. We are complete. There's nothing lacking. That means that there's not a piece lacking. We're complete where? In Jesus, in our relationship with Jesus. It says, for in him dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in him, who is the head of all what? Principalities and powers. It doesn't say good principalities and powers. It says all principalities and powers. It says, in him, verse 11, you are also circumcised with a circumcision made without hands, by the putting off of the body of sins of the flesh, by the circumcision of Christ. Now, circumcision, we know, is the cutting off of the male foreskin, which was demanded by God to Abraham as a sign of covenant. So what he's saying here is that was a physical covenant, but we have a spiritual covenant. So if I go through it again in that light, it says, in him you were also circumcised spiritually, with the circumcision made without hands spiritually, by the putting off of the body of sin of the flesh, by the what? Circumcision or spiritual circumcision of Christ. Buried with him in baptism, in which you were also raised with him. So what allows me to be buried with him and raised with him? How do I identify with something that happened 2,000 years ago, right? What identifies me? And that's covenant. That's what we've been teaching. That's what we're talking about. So listen, buried with him in baptism. Baptism, an idea of baptism is if I take a white garment and I put it into very blue dye, it becomes completely identified with the dye. When you pull it out, it's changed. It's not white anymore. It's blue, right? It takes on what it's baptized into. So we take on what we're baptized into. So again, go back. It says in him, or buried with him in baptism, we're identified with his burial, in which you were also raised with him, or identified with his resurrection. How? Through faith in the working of God who raised him from the dead. There it is again, right? What we learned in earlier sessions, that faith, what? Attaches us to covenant, right? So our faith in God's operation, God's plan, the working of God, is our identification with Jesus in all that he did, right?